The first reports flickered across social media just after 2 a.m. Moscow time, confusing, fragmented, and dismissed by many as a hoax, but then came the videos, grainy phone footage of small, dark shapes streaking across the night sky, their low hum a sinister prelude. Explosions erupted with terrifying precision, substations, communications towers, vital city organs. Moscow, long insulated from the war it started, was suddenly on the front line. Air raid sirens wailed, panic swept the city, and people stumbled into the streets, faces lit by distant fires. Car alarms blared, the sky buzzed with hundreds of unseen drones. The city's famed air defense systems fired wildly, their expensive missiles chasing drones that cost less than a used car. For every drone shot down, 10 more took its place. The sky became a chaotic light show of tracers and explosions. The swarm was too large, too clever, a new kind of warfare Russia was unprepared for. The capital of a superpower was being dismantled by flying machines cobbled together in workshops. As minutes stretched into an hour, the scale became clear. This was a massive orchestrated assault. The targets were power grids, communication hubs, railway junctions, and fuel depots, each drone a pinprick, together causing the city to bleed out. The Kremlin, surrounded by chaos, received a clear message: no one was safe. The war had arrived at the heart of the empire. Moscow's illusion of invulnerability was shattered in a single night. The city's fate now hung in the balance. The world watched, stunned, as Moscow burned. Just before dawn, Kyiv confirmed what the world already suspected: Operation Silent Thunder had struck Moscow with a swarm of 370 long-range drones. The number stunned analysts, far beyond what anyone thought possible. The attack was a direct response to Russia's recent missile barrages on Ukrainian cities. The drones, including the domestically produced Lyuti, launched in waves from hidden sites across northern Ukraine. Flying low to evade radar, their flight paths converged on Moscow from all directions. This was no simple attack. The drones formed a decentralized network, communicating and adapting mid-flight. If one was shot down, another adjusted to cover its target. Some drones jammed Russian radar and communications. Others scouted for air defenses, and the main attack force struck with precision. Russian operators faced a storm of conflicting data, unable to distinguish real threats from digital noise. Traditional air defense, built for a handful of high-value targets, was overwhelmed by hundreds of small, cheap threats. Missile launchers emptied their magazines, anti-aircraft guns sprayed shells, but the drones kept coming. The swarm slipped through Moscow's vaunted defenses, exposing the city's core infrastructure. By the time the inner ring was breached, the city was already vulnerable. The world realized a new era of warfare had arrived. Moscow was under siege from the sky. Sunrise revealed a battered, bewildered Moscow. Black smoke rose from burning fuel depots and substations. The city of 13 million was eerily quiet. Power outages silenced traffic lights, shut down the metro, and left millions without electricity or water. Emergency services were overwhelmed, communications crippled, and coordination impossible. Firefighters found hydrants without pressure. Ambulances were trapped in gridlock. The command structure itself had been targeted, leaving officials isolated and blind. While drones focused on infrastructure, secondary effects were devastating: fires, falling debris, and overwhelmed hospitals. The psychological impact was immense. A population-fed propaganda about invincibility now faced its own vulnerability. The war was no longer distant, it was a smoking ruin down the street. Rumors and fear spread in the absence of official news. The Kremlin's silence only deepened the anxiety. The attack shattered the illusion of stability and security. Moscow was not just without power, it was without direction. The city drifted in uncertainty and fear. The seeds of this attack were sown weeks earlier in Dnipro, when Russia unleashed a brutal missile barrage on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. Apartment blocks and shopping centers were hit. Rescue workers dug through rubble for days. The strikes aimed to break Ukraine's spirit, but instead forged a grim resolve. Images of destruction, children's toys and debris, family portraits in dust, became a national rallying cry. In Kyiv, leaders met underground, determined that defense alone was not enough. They needed a new deterrent, a way to make Russia pay for its terror. Operation Silent Thunder was born, a plan to strike not civilians, but the heart of the Russian war machine. The target would be Moscow. It was a high-risk, high-reward gamble. Failure would be catastrophic, but success could change the war. The attack on Dnipro was meant to crush Ukraine's will. Instead, it ignited a fire of vengeance. The resolve forged in Dnipro would soon reach the Kremlin's doorstep. The old rules of engagement were over. Ukraine was ready to strike back. Operation Silent Thunder's arsenal wasn't built in massive factories, but in a network of hidden workshops. The Ghost Factory, engineers, coders, students, and hobbyists worked around the clock, driven by desperation and patriotism. Drones ranged from sophisticated Liudi models to homemade creations, built from scavenged electronics and 3D printed parts. Each drone was a marvel of frugal innovation, costing a fraction of a missile but delivering precise blows. The real breakthrough was in software. Young coders wrote swarm intelligence algorithms, enabling drones to communicate, navigate, and prioritize targets autonomously. Electronic warfare packages blinded Russian defenses. The decentralized production model was resilient and fast. If one workshop was lost, others carried on. Ideas moved from concept to prototype in weeks, not months. The Ghost Factory's agility let Ukraine secretly build a 370-strong swarm at a pace Russia couldn't match. Ingenuity, not scale, became Ukraine's greatest weapon. Deep beneath Kyiv, Operation Silent Thunder was meticulously planned. Analysts mapped Moscow's vulnerabilities, power grids, communications, air defenses, identifying critical nodes for maximum disruption. The goal: paralyze, not destroy, the city. Each drone was assigned primary and backup targets, with flight paths designed for stealth and surprise. Mission commanders, young and tech-savvy, rehearsed countless scenarios in simulators, preparing for every contingency. Their job: manage the swarm as a whole, not individual drones. The final go-ahead came with optimal weather and standard Russian air defense readiness. The risk was immense, but the reward greater. In the final briefing, the commander's words were simple. For Dnipro, make them feel it. The vow was set. The attack would soon begin. Under darkness, the swarm took flight from hidden Ukrainian launch sites. Drones flew low, silent, navigating by starlight and gyroscopes, invisible to Russian radar. As they neared Russian territory, the swarm woke up, forming a mesh network and sharing data. Electronic warfare drones surged ahead, jamming radars and creating phantom targets. Russian operators, blinded and confused, wasted missiles on ghosts. The main attack force pressed on, splitting into specialized groups. CAD drones targeted air defenses, slamming into radar arrays and command vehicles. With gaps punched in the shield, the rest of the swarm poured into Moscow's airspace. The first wave struck power infrastructure. Explosions plunged sectors into darkness. The next wave hit communications, severing internet and phone lines. Moscow was systematically blinded, deafened, and cut off. Inside Russian command centers, chaos reigned. Initial drone reports were dismissed, but soon the crisis was undeniable. Screens showed hundreds of targets. Operators, trained for top-down control, were paralyzed. The S-400 and Pantsir systems, designed for jets and missiles, were overwhelmed by the low-tech swarm. Ammunition ran out. For every drone destroyed, more slipped through. As power and communications failed, military command crumbled. Generals were cut off, unable to issue orders. The attack decapitated Russia's military nervous system in its own capital. The fortress was breached, not by force, but by 1,000 tiny cuts. By sunrise, the last drone had struck or been shot down. The aftermath: over 150 civilian casualties, catastrophic infrastructure damage, and a city in darkness. The financial cost was in the billions. The blow to Russia's prestige was immeasurable. In Kyiv, there was no celebration, only grim satisfaction. The world was stunned. Ukraine had projected power deep into Russia, changing the war's calculus. Operation Silent Thunder proved that cheap, semi-autonomous drones could defeat a superpower's defenses. The future of warfare had arrived. Innovation, agility, and audacity now trumped brute force. The old giants of the world were no longer safe from the swarm.